Let's talk about how the promo sort of takes a turn after this. We see you on Monday Night Raw, and we're going to get the announcement that it's supposed to be JBL versus Shawn Michaels in a street fight. But then you're going to give a speech about what great financial shape you're in because your wife gave you a tip to buy gold and that you've made all this cash. And now, of course, you don't have to resort to being one of those 50 or 60-year-old guys who still does shows at high schools or, having fans take money with them for income. And of course, that feels like a veiled shot at the time for Hogan and Flair, who were doing stuff like that outside the tent.
Yep, it was not. It was not. I would not take a shot at old guys for doing that. Not certainly not Hogan and Flair. It was not. That was a coincidence. That it was just a shot at. It was a shot at movies like The Wrestler. That
Yes.
guy's going. It was a shot at things like that. It was not a specific shot at any two wrestlers, and I would not take a shot at Hogan and Flair like that ever.
Well, I didn't mean you
personally. Too much respect for him. I know. It was. I saw in some of the the dirt sheet you sent me that it was a shot at Hogan and Flair. Absolutely 100% not true. That had nothing to do with it. That was just a shot at old wrestlers. That's what they've always done. And you're going to end up. I may end up in a high school gym somewhere, clotheslining somebody. Sometimes you do things because a friend asked you. Sometimes you do things because it's a good payoff. Sometimes you just do things because you're bored and you want to go do something, be part of the business. I have no issue whatsoever with that, and that was not a shot at Hogan and Flair.
Of course, Shawn Michaels is not engaging with you here. He leaves with his head down. Jerry Lawler is going to start calling him out. Fans are obviously disappointed. They wanted to see some physicality. And in the past on social media, you've quipped that you were kind of the good guy in this storyline, that maybe the fans just didn't understand it. I get you're trying to be a little tongue in cheek, but that's kind of the psychology behind this storyline wise, isn't it? That JBL, even though he's the bad guy, he believes he's the babyface, right?
100%. Yeah. There's never been a great heel that didn't think they were the babyface. Right. Every great heel thinks they're the babyface. You got to have a rationale for what you do. You don't, the idea of I'm doing something bad because I'm bad. That is so fire bad, water good. That's cartoons. That's cartoons. The guy shows up and tries to drop a rock on the Roadrunner or something. Why? Because he's a bad guy. It's stupid. It's cartoonish. You have to have depth and layers to this. And the heel has to believe deep down that they're a good guy. Now, it's twisted and demented in that heel's brain the way you get there, but you have to find a way to get there. You have to find a justification for what you're doing other than just, I'm playing a bad guy. There's too many people playing bad guys, and those guys who are playing bad guys, those guys will never get over.
We got to mention one of the next steps, one of the next beats in this story.
Oh, and by the way, let me bring some up real quick. I think this is where I called Shawn a name that Vince got mad at me during the promo. This is I hate to even say it because somebody's going to take it out of context, but it's obviously working in the promo. It's the one word Vince hated. It's the one that Maddox used and got fired from. And I just said it in the promo. I was just rambling and said it, and I thought it fit and came back. Vince goes, I've got sponsors here. I didn't know that one word was the one word that Vince, like you can curse. You can do all kinds of things. Don't say that one word.
Yeah. Hypothetically, if you had to not necessarily donate blood, but if they were just going to check your blood like you were a diabetic, what might they do to your finger, John? Do you think
that is excellent. I wondered how you're going to get there. I wondered where you're going. I thought, how's he going to get there? Yeah. You've got to prick your finger. I didn't realize that's the one word Vince hated.
How is that possible that's the word Vince doesn't like?
That's the best question, Conrad. That's the best question of the week. How is that possible? That is the one word Vince hated. He's had people, he blew himself up on TV. He's done all these crazy things, and that's the one word he hates. That, like, how dare you use that word? That word, that's where you're drawing the line, but that's where Vince drew the line.
Man, there's got to be a story there somewhere, right?
There has to be something there.
Yes.
Because that one word to Vince is like, that crosses the line. Like, that does? Of all the things we do, that does?
By the way, shame on you, BlueChew. This would have been an excellent segue today.
Yes, it would have been.
We'll move on. I do want to ask about the Slammy Award bit. That's sort of the next beat in the story. Of course, the Slammies are what they are, but Shawn is going to accept match of the year for his match with Ric Flair. You're going to interrupt him and say that, hey, you should have won match of the year for your match with John Cena at Great American Bash. And Shawn had been talking about wanting to put this trophy on his mantle, and then he's looking all sad as this happens. What do you now listen, I don't know, how much we want to get into all of this, but this is at a time when there's a lot of newsletter chatter about your off the field antics, and they're sort of all working now in front of the camera. And you start getting chants when you come out and things like that, where people are trying to talk about things they've read in the newsletter rather than staying on the topic at hand, which is your storyline with Shawn. Was that something that you guys strategized creatively about, or did you just roll with the punches and who gives a shit? They paid their money, let them say what they want to say.
They paid their money, let them say what they say.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing of, it's kind of fun. And it really is fun. It really is. I watched young people today. I say young people, I'm 58, so most of them are young to me. But I watch young people today, and I've talked to some of them about how not to let people hijack a show. And I've explained to them how to not let people hijack a show. Fans love to hijack a show. And it's fun when they try to hijack the show. Can you turn them? Can you turn them back to where you want them? Cena did that every single night. He was the best I've ever seen at it. I walked into one night stand when all they want to do is hijack the show, and I got them to turn on me, and just boo me. I did it several times in my career. It's fun to be able to do that. It's fun to be able to have fans wanting to go some complete different direction. Are you good enough to turn them? Can you say something that strikes a chord with them that turns them, which is what you have to do. You can't yell, "You suck." I watched some of these young guys today, girls, and they let people hijack shows. And it's tough to stop sometimes, but you got to have a plan going in. And to have a plan going in, a lot of times, just if you've been there a few times, you know what to do. But it's fun, Conrad. It really is. It's like playing a really good guy at chess when you're just kind of average. Can you hold up to the barrage? And can you find a way to turn the tide? It's fun to do.
Well, we're going to have some fun talking about this promo. Shawn Michaels is going to come out, and I guess he's sort of playing off the movie The Wrestler. You mentioned it earlier. As a reminder, this storyline is in 08 or at the tail end of 08, all in 09. And now, that movie came out in 08, so maybe you've seen it. Maybe fans are familiar with it, that sort of deal. But when Shawn comes out, he's going to cut a promo that Dave Meltzer says was the best thing on the show so far, where he's basically trying to address the fact that maybe fans weren't buying him being quote unquote broke. But he explained during his 20s, when he started making money, he was giving it away to his high school friends who were down on their luck. And in his 30s, he was helping out his family and the church and every charity he believed in. And he put his money in some investments, and now he's broke. And he has no choice because he doesn't want his brothers and sisters to lose their homes or his kids not to be able to go to college. And since JBL had been so good with his money, I'm going to go work for JBL. I don't want to be one of those wrestling tragedies who ends up bagging groceries or limping into high school gyms to wrestle. And there's not much fanfare or reaction for this promo. It is a good promo, but it just doesn't seem to connect with the crowd the way maybe we would expect. What do you remember being in the ring when this was happening? Sometimes when it's quiet like that, it means it's working. And other times you're wondering, are they buying it? Are you getting mixed messages, or were you feeling that, hey, we set the hook here?
I thought they bought it. And the reason I thought they bought it, I was obviously standing right there with him, was sometimes you leave a place perplexed, and when they do, it's unnerving, unless you've been there before. And I keep emphasizing that, Shawn and I, unfortunately, had been out there with a million different promos. And you could tell kind of when the crowd is going the direction you want them to. But if you're watching on television, or if you're watching and don't really know the business, you may just think, well, they're not into it. The crowd was sitting there going, they didn't want it to happen. They didn't want their beloved Heartbreak Kid, who they love so much. And a lot of these guys have been watching for 15, 20 years, grown up with him. They didn't want him to be in this position. They didn't want him to be the character that people felt sorry for. They didn't want him to be the character that, didn't have money to send his kids to school. The old guy that ended up broke. They didn't want this to happen. And I don't think they liked it. And that's when I say liked it, that's what you want. You want them pissed off, and I'm the one that's coming in to take advantage of this. And so Shawn's a great promo. I had a different take on it than what your dirt sheet writer said.